Your friend walks into the forest. He never comes back. What do you do? Today, you check your phone. Maybe track his location. Call the police, describe what he was wearing, wait for a search team with dogs and drones. For most of human history, none of that existed. No phones. No police. No maps. Just you, a handful of other people, and a forest that didn't care whether your friend lived or died. And yet, ancient humans found people. Again and again, across thousands of years, in environments with zero technology, they got remarkably good at bringing the missing back home. So how? The answer starts with something you've probably never thought about as a survival skill: tracking. Anthropologist Louis Liebenberg spent years studying the sand trackers of the Kalahari Desert, hunters who could read the ground the way you read a sentence. A bent blade of grass. A slightly disturbed patch of sand. The subtle difference between a footprint left an hour ago and one left yesterday. To an untrained eye, it's nothing. To a trained tracker, it's a story, unfolding in real time. Liebenberg argued something even bigger. He proposed that tracking wasn't just a survival skill. It may have been one of the earliest forms of scientific reasoning humans ever developed. You observe evidence. You form a hypothesis. Where did this person go, and why? Then you test it against the next clue you find. Adjust. Repeat. Long before anyone wrote down the scientific method, ancient trackers were already living it, one footprint at a time. So picture it. Someone in your group doesn't come back by nightfall. What happens next isn't panic. It's process. The search doesn't start at dawn. It starts immediately, while daylight and evidence are still fresh. A small group forms, usually the most experienced trackers, because sending everyone out increases the risk that more people get lost. They start where the missing person was last seen, and they read the ground outward from there. Which direction were the footprints heading? Was the pace steady, or rushed? Are there signs of a struggle, or of someone simply wandering, distracted, chasing an animal a little too far? Every clue narrows the search radius. A snapped twig here. A disturbed anthill there. Trackers could estimate not just direction, but timing, sometimes down to the hour, based on how quickly footprints had begun to fade or fill with wind-blown dust. This wasn't guesswork. Anthropologist Richard Lee, who studied hunter-gatherer groups extensively in the 20th century, documented just how deeply interconnected these communities were, and how quickly the absence of one person disrupted the rhythm of the whole group. A missing person wasn't treated as an inconvenience. It was treated as an emergency that involved everyone, because in small, tightly bonded groups, losing even one member could mean losing critical knowledge, critical labor, or a critical relationship the entire group depended on. Now here's where the story gets heavier, because not every search ended the way you'd hope. Sometimes the missing person was found injured. Sometimes they were found too late. And what happened next reveals something surprising about how ancient humans processed loss. At Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, archaeologist Ralph Seletsky uncovered Neanderthal remains buried with unusual care, in a case that sparked decades of debate over whether flowers had been placed in the grave. Even setting aside that specific and contested detail, the burial itself tells you something undeniable. Someone took the time and effort to bury this individual deliberately, rather than simply leaving the body where it fell. That is not a neutral act. That's grief, given a physical form, tens of thousands of years before anyone wrote the word down. This is the counterintuitive twist. You might assume that in a world this brutal, this exposed to constant danger, ancient humans would have grown numb to loss. Efficient. Detached. The evidence suggests almost the opposite. The harder survival was, the more ancient humans seemed to invest in finding each other, and in honoring the ones they couldn't save. Why? Because in a small group, every person was irreplaceable in a very literal sense. There was no replacement hunter waiting in the wings. No backup caregiver. Losing someone didn't just hurt emotionally. It weakened the entire group's odds of surviving the next season. So searching wasn't just an act of love. It was, in the coldest possible sense, a rational necessity, and that necessity is precisely why it became instinctual. Which brings us back to you, and your missing friend. You'll never track a footprint through sand the way a sand hunter could. You don't need to. But that instinct, the immediate, Gut-level urgency you'd feel the moment someone you care about goes silent, the compulsion to search now, not later, to organize others, to retrace steps, to read every small clue for meaning. That instinct isn't new. It isn't a product of modern empathy or modern social conditioning. It's ancient. It's the same instinct that sent trackers into the Kalahari sand, and search parties into the dark, tens of thousands of years before search and rescue had a name. Your friend walks into the forest. He never comes back. What do? You already know. Your ancestors have been answering that question for 300,000 years, and the answer was never, ever nothing.